Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Wonderful to be back. Looks like I haven't missed much. We're still at the same place we were last week. I think Tuesday was the last day we streamed. Um, we made a plan for the market to pull back, and it did. And then we were looking to get long. It pushed up, it swept this high, and it's dropped back to the previous Monday low. So we're still within this we're still within this Monday range. Okay. We're sitting right on top of key SR, which is anchored off these highs here, which held the market down before we broke support, support, support again. So we've got that recent retest that confirms the level for us nicely. Now, what are we looking for? Well, let's bring back the higher time frame. Let's get going with the higher time frame. With the middle of the month. Um, Nothing there for us on the monthly, but let's look at the weekly. Oh, weekly, okay. So we swept last week's high. Okay, we swept last week's high. We know that. That happened when we were, I think we were looking for a short. So we swept last week's high, and that gave us Monday high. I'm going to remove that because that's not as important to us at the moment. We've got, well, actually, I'm just going to remove it off this particular chart. I'll remove the visibility, and the same for here. So there's the previous weekly open. We swept, closed bearish, and we've traded off the open a little bit lower today. So what do we have now is we have a situation where liquidity is at the low. We've taken liquidity at the high. There is a new high, okay? But the next available high was fairly quite a fair distance away, which we did mention previously. Now we're going to look, I believe, to trade into this low. And there is obviously a catch to that, which I'll go over in a moment. But at the moment, just based upon law of averages and odds, it looks like we're below the key level, which is the 50%, and it looks like we're potentially going to retest at least the pink. But that looks closer than that currently. And with that taking out last week's high and closing bearish, you anticipate or assume it will hold for the time being with a quick flush into the lows and then a recovery. Now, I wouldn't be against that at all. That would seem reasonable to me. But I think we're going to go for this. And there's a level in there which I'm going to remove, but we'll come back to in a moment on the lower time frames because I know what it is. It's a gap fill. It didn't fill last time. Just want to clean this chart up a little bit, get them visibilities working properly, and go to the daily. Now, mid-range, tight weekly range currently. So we were looking for, and to be honest, now we could probably go, yeah, if we go to the H1. So here is, and this is totally dependent on a couple of things, okay? So the story of price is we consolidated, okay? We dipped, recovered, failure pattern, okay? Failure breakdown, rip. Held support, swept the high, broke the structure, pushed up, lower high, swept the highs, held the high, consolidated, swept another high, almost like a double confirmation, dropped. Okay, so within this little range, this final range here, it swept the highs a few times and dropped. Now, that gives us two things. It tells us it's bearish, and it gives us a very, very nice invalidation because we know with everything that has happened here above this key level, and then to have the breakdown, it means a break back above is very bullish. Okay, because this is all bearish, and this should mean continuation of some sort until an area of liquidity, and for me, that area is in there. And now, if you look a little further back, we'll come back. Oh, here's the gap fill. Okay, here was the thin move up. We came down, filled a little bit there, came down, filled a little bit there, took out them two lows. But ultimately, we never came back to this common gap. So it could well be that we drop in there, hit them lows, because after, as I said, after this happening, it's bearish. Okay, breakdown of this level, the market is bearish. That means lower prices, or at least sweep a key low. Okay, and that could come in the form of these two lows here, or a daily low that forms today, and tomorrow we drop into it. Okay, now that could happen, but ultimately it gives us such a clear invalidation that if we rip back above this previous weekly open, we have failure pattern, failure pattern. We're going to bid. If we break above, we'll just bid this blind, right? And I wouldn't even mind having stopped there because the upside target would be, and it still is, the mid-range. Okay, so that would look something like this. There. Okay. Now, if I go back to, so it's going to look something like that. Okay, if it breaks back above, bounce. Oh, sorry, back test, bounce. Invalidation at the low, whichever the low that is that it finds. Otherwise, we're gonna probably dip just a little bit more. But I mean, again, I'm not sure. It could be a huge dip. It could not be. But I at least want to see a key low taken out. And if that is a daily low, um, I'd be very very happy to see how the reaction is and take the take the other side of the market. Now, if we come back to the daily, we had this marked out for our potential long. Now, note the gap fill level here. So if we do get, and that does look like it's getting bid up nicely today, but obviously New York hasn't opened yet. Now, if we do get the dip-a-roo today straight into there over the next few days, I think that is a huge buy still. It would have swept out some liquidity there, and the bounce could be exactly what we need. A very similar setup to a very similar setup to this, really. Range bound in there, you see? Range bound, more like there. Okay. Range bound price action within there. Breakdown. Um, Not so much that one. To be honest, it's more like this one because it didn't. We're not looking for it to break structure. So there's an ultimate low. There's a range. Here would be an ultimate low. There's the range. Oh, cool. There's the range. Okay. And we would look for something like this, just a dip and then a rip. Dip, rip. Similar, okay? That seems reasonable to me. Um, and anything like this, really, just want it to dip in, get a clean low taken out, and it won't hide. That's a great candle. That would be a great candle for us to get. If we got one of those, close green, and we could get this sent straight into 18.5. I still want to trade this higher. I'm very happy to trade this higher, and I think it goes there before Christmas. I think it goes towards 20k before Christmas. So hopefully that's what we're going to get a setup this week. Now Ethereum, a little bit different. Although it's lingering above this key pink level, which is anchored off here as a reminder. Okay, resistance, flip support. Traded under, got a little bit messy, got back above, and it's sort of lingering around it now. It's had a couple of dips below, and might be worth changing that soon. We'll see how it does over the next couple of days, but I don't like keeping levels that are too messy. I'm particularly not impressed with this one anymore. So it used to be a level here, very clean. here messy. So that's got to go. Okay, that one's gonna go. And what are we gonna do? We're gonna work with. Is it there? Yeah, I think it's there. I'm not going to anchor it off that. I'm just going to bring it back over here. 'Cause it's just a range, isn't it? That's there. Um, so we've had the dip into these three previous daily lows. Is that one going to go? Now, what we have had is takes them lows out there. So if I just quickly get that layered nicely, and then you can see that's quite nice. Okay, on a lower time frame. I mean, ultimately, there's been nothing worth looking at for a few days. What we have had is here, but obviously this will get invalidated if the low breaks. But at the moment, okay, and it is fucking close now. That's a breaking structure, okay? And what we're looking for generally is the dip into here, or dip into liquidity, and then a reaction. And the reaction shows the strength, and the strength has been shown here. Yes, we've had a couple of little dips. We took out some highs, swept some highs there, dropped. We have lows. Now, what needs to happen to validate this? Although it matters right now, but essentially the message is strength. There is strength there, buyers are there. So it's reason to be bullish. Now, if this happens, where would I come in with this? Maybe there. I think it's there, isn't it? I think that's the level. Now, I think if you go, if this is the low, and it breaks back above there, I think that would give us a reasonable entry, okay? To start, ultimately, I want to trade back into these equal highs. That's the target. That's the short-term target for me at the moment, is I want to find a reason to get us back into these highs. And I think a real nice squeeze. If this low doesn't hold and we dip, well, let's say we get there is a possible for us to get short early in the week, which is today or tomorrow. Um, and it would be something like a retest of this level, a rejection, and then we're in. Okay, stop loss, entry, short, target 1. Okay, and then we would go target 2. So fill that gap. That would be in line with the Bitcoin idea, but again, it needs to reject. Because at the moment we've got that strength in there and that low there. If it rejects, it would kind of confirm continued selling on these confirmations. And if it does reject, we'll short, okay? And that'll be the first target. We'll monitor it after that. A dip into there, and then a recovery would be the same opinion. Ultimately, there is a target there, clear, clean highs for us to look at for this week. So I hope you enjoyed the stream. I'm going to now flip straight into the high-low video, the lesson, the strategy, and I'll have that posted this evening. I still am waiting to hear back from support for, is it Microsoft Azure and Google Business for the emails. There's a problem on their end. I don't know what it is, but I'm just waiting for them to reply to my email. I'm on an email thread with the support team, so I'll get that sorted as soon as possible. Hopefully, it's be back done by tomorrow. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you maybe in Discord this evening. But ultimately, my priority this evening is to get the high-low video out. Okay, bye bye.